Thank you so much. Right, thanks for the introduction and for inviting me. I'm super honored with all of these great speakers today. We're a fairly small app company. Actually, Cromian is the app company, and we have a mobile games development company called Duncraft Digital, which makes mobile games. So we're a little bit into different spaces, you can say. Today I will try to do what Morten just said, go into, first of all, what we do and how we work on traction and traction channel analyzing, and with that, how we try to prototype, basically the whole idea of fail fast, fail cheap, or fail before you actually start using money on failing. And also I will walk you through how we use it on different cases. But first, a little bit about us. We were founded in 2013. We were a pure app startup at that time, until Danske Bank approached us a couple of years after, asking if we could come up with some cool ideas for their innovation lab called Mobile Life. It was not really in the plan that we wanted to go in that direction or move in that direction into consulting, but we really couldn't say no to their offer, so we started to help them build these ideas. So these are some of the things we've done. There's different games, but we have been moving around all the way from grocery shopping apps to social calendars to voting and to the Sunday Go app, which is the Danske Bank app, and streetcars, which I'm going to tell a little bit about later. There was something about parking tickets or something like that. Yes. Oh, it's all pixel. I love it. So these are some of the partners we've had in the last 5 years, and also some of the customers. And it's been pretty cool working with these different organizations. Like, one thing is for sure, or for certain, they do really tend to do things like totally different from each other. And some of them just have, have the same kind of way of moving around these things. Like, if you remember the early startup phase of your own startup or something like that, you probably thought, as I did, I just need a programmer to do this. Well, these guys, especially Danske Bank, they went out and hired like the 100 best people in Denmark to do stuff without even knowing what they had to do. So that was, I will not call that a good start, but it's a start where you bring all the best minds together, and 3 years after, hopefully you have some good products there. But just to tell you also how we've moved. So we started, as I said, as a pure startup, and tried to do some projects on our own and fundraise and so on and so forth, and went from one project to another into different industries, and really didn't bring any of the learnings or anything. It's quite stupid to the other projects we were doing. But like, when we started to get into the consultant part, we found out that there were actually really good learnings and key things which you can use structures and models to bring along. And I'm going to talk about some of the earliest stuff that you can do, both if you're from a big organization, but also if you're in a startup, to validate and also to hopefully grow your product from an early stage. Some of you may know this process. It's a classical design process. I just wanted to bring it to you guys also to show that we have 4 different ways of actually helping our customers, and it's very much dependent on where the customers are. We're working, for instance, for HK Lab, HK Lab at the moment, and they have been doing super much research already, and have been talking with all of their clients and people who don't use HK, and so to help them, we didn't really go into the discover phase, but more into the define phase. How to ask the right questions, not to the users, but more to see what kind of hypothesis you can actually bring forward with the data you got from the users. So let's get into the more spicy stuff here. This is, I don't know if any of you guys know the 19 traction channels. But I love this. This was it's actually a book. It's quite cheap. Not that I wrote it or that I want you to go on and buy it. But it was written by the guy who invented the DuckDuckGo search engine. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. And he developed it to help startups actually look into all the kind of traction channels that you could use to try both to test the growth, like how good you can grow your product, but also to test what areas your competitors are in, and also to see if there are some, holes that you can dig up, which is better than what your competitors use. There's some pretty good examples. One of his own examples was that when he wanted to raise a variety or awareness, about his service, he made a fake web page which basically went into Google's search platform and showed the user what Google actually looked up on you each time you searched, and underneath it said, like, if you want to have like a clean search where nobody actually picks up what you are doing or actually tracks you, go to DuckDuckGo. And he actually got a lot of customers in that direction. And that was sort of like using a space. It's called basically engineering for marketing, but that was actually going about it saying, like, okay, how can I easily get people to use my service, and what is the main pain of actually the users that I want to target with my service. And there's other great things. The speaker engagement. I'm here today talking to you guys. I'm probably also gonna talk a little bit about the products that we make at some point. But it's also very good. Like, the whole point of traction or testing traction channels is and this model is basically to start to work in sort of like thoughts of how can I move the needle. That's basically how we talk about this. It's like, if you can hit a bullseye, that is basically keeping down the cost of a certain marketing scheme or whatever it can be to maximize the users or the inflow of users. So yeah, these are very, very, very nice. So if you're into this thing, please read this book. It will help you along the way. And if you try to combine it with prototyping, and this lovely guy here is a Dane called Tim Wang, which do all kind of cool events in Denmark, where he tells some big organizations and startups how to prototype, innovate, or die fast, or fail fast and fail cheap. But Tim is actually quite cool. Like, his point is basically that with all these different tools, whether it be a simple pen or a paper, or whether it be WordPress site or sketching and so on and so forth, you can actually come a long way to prove that you have something with the concept. You can develop hypotheses and actually show that there are people who want to use your service. And prototyping versus prototyping, that is actually much about going above the whole UX thought into how to test things. How can we actually plant these tools or the things that we want to create in the hands of the users without actually telling them? Like avoiding the mom test or the friends test and so on and so forth. Like, how can we actually see if users want to use what we're developing? The first couple of apps that we did was, they performed hideously because, we've talked to a lot of people who said, like, yeah, sure, I want that product. Yes, I can really see what I could use that product for. But when, after 6 months of development and we went through app stores and so on and so forth, people didn't use it. And it was like, why don't you use the product? Like, you told us you were going to use it. And that, I guess, it's basically because most people, when you do UX testing and so on and so forth, like, you can't really avoid them to being biased when they sit in the room with you. Like, of course, at some point they've read up about what you guys are doing. It's not like you're in for a secret date or something like that with the users when you're sitting there talking to them. And so they become biased, like, the minute they walk into the room. And it's kind of hard to look at it like saying, is this actually the right answers that we want? Is this actually clarifying whether this product is going to be of any use? But let's move into, I brought two cases today. So the first one is, I would say, not boring, but it's a case where we we've been working for Mobile Live, as I said, the Danske Bank, and they have been quite keen on getting into the real estate market in Denmark, trying to figure out how to help people search for homes by using, budget tool and so on and so forth. What we helped them with was that they have tried to contact realtors and others in the market and tried to get them to work together with them. And they tried that for 2 years until they actually contacted us or asked us if we could help them get some of the data that they want. They wanted to share analytics data and negotiation and help people negotiate, from a bank perspective and also book showings like home showings. And they wanted us to focus on the home showing part, because it would be quite nice if you have a real estate search app or a home search app. It would be quite nice if you could actually book a home showing in that app and so on and so forth. So what we did was actually doing a trapdoor test, combined it with a mechanical Turk. I don't know if you know about mechanical Turks. There's a lot of buzzwords, I know. But what we did was actually placing a fake button in the app saying book a home showing. And what we did was then show a web page. We did a super fast web page saying fill in your contact information. And then it was thrown at us at a CSV file kind of solution. And when it came to us, I just picked up the phone and called the realtor saying hey, so I'm calling on behalf of this guy. Can I book a showing for this guy? And taking the conversations back and forth. But the cool thing is that we could actually, in the end, we could send out a push notification saying, yes, you got a home showing booked at the end. And the user didn't really, get to see what would happen, behind the scene. And in that sort of way, we actually proved that there were, people who wanted to use this feature. So Danske Bank went on and decided to actually develop a full automated system for this. And it started I think we used 2 days on developing this. I mean, and of course it's going to take time to do the callings and stuff like that. But in the end, you show that people want to use it, and that's, I guess, the most important thing. Case 2, streetcars, and now we're going to talk about the parking tickets. So Streetcars is the first collectible car game in the world. Woo! Basically, it's a kind of Vivino concept. I worked for a different project a couple of years back and found out that all data on cars are actually public available in many countries like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, UK, US, and so on and so forth, and free for taking through their tax payer systems. So we thought, okay, how can we make a game which can actually use this data to show cars like real in-game models, and maybe you could walk around, scan cars in the streets, and by scanning a license plate, could we actually get that car into the game and you can play with it, together with your friends? So we've actually developed that. But to test whether we could get people to actually walk around scanning license plate, we had to come up with an idea to sort of how can we, will they actually love this idea? Would they want to go around in the street? And I mean, it's kind of hazardous, but would they actually like to go around and scan people's car? And that was basically how we sort of got into the prototyping and the parking ticket idea. So we thought, okay, we need a target group. So the target group should be car enthusiasts, because they would probably be, the ones to pick up this game from the start, or the first ones to pick up the game. And then we found out that the biggest car show was actually just in a month from when we started this in Herning. And so we thought, okay, our target group is, there's a collective big bunch of them there in Herning. And how could we actually get through to them without talking to them or without, telling them what we're doing? So we came up with this, which is a parking ticket. And it's in, the classical plastic thingy. We've rendered the text, it's in Danish, sorry, but we've rendered the text a little bit, so it tells you something that you're really good at parking, stuff like that. this was really early in the development stage, so we made up a fake car scanner collector app, kind of, and made a landing page for it as well, and with a link for App Store and Google Play, which led to nothing but a kind of sign up page. And we handed out 800 of these in 2 hours, and within 48 hours, we got a staggering 456 unique visits to the webpage and 65 signups for this fake app. So that was pretty, that was pretty amazing from a flyer. And it was 800 of them. The conversion rate was like through the roof. And that sort of like gave us the opportunity to contact these guys. And they were like pretty happy about those results and wanted to invest in the game as well. So at the end, we only had like this presentation and a couple of parking tickets, but we actually had the validation process, the validation process. We have done the validation process, and we had people who wanted to actually use the technology we wanted to build. So it's super easy to get these guys on board. And now, like, it's been a year since we went to Herning, and we've got 1.7 million Danish crowns, and the game is coming out in 3 weeks' time in Denmark. So yeah, like if you really want to do this, like from an early stage, you can get super far with just using your imagination. That is basically what I wanted to tell you guys, because you don't always need a programmer to start off with. Like, it's, good ideas can be validated in so many other ways than starting developing. And like, basically it's just a waste of time and money if you don't have any validation. So use your time on what you can do yourself and try to figure out the right tools for you guys to validate, and also to look into growth, because this is also about growth. The next stage of this is like these results, they can be used also to how do we grow this app. I'm going to go out to all the car events this summer in Denmark and hand out parking tickets, because again, if you look into how much it costed us to print these 800, it was like 1,000 crowns. It was nothing compared to how much we got out of it. So yeah, that's the main idea of it. So yeah, download the game in 3 weeks' time.